Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's Friday, the best day of the week. But moi, since I don't have to go to work every day, is the best day for me. But I know that some of you just cannot wait until the end of the day on Friday to start enjoying the weekend. So we're gonna have good time today. I just wanted to come here and drop this gem for you because I was reflecting on my earlier career and some of the things that I did. And I just think about it and I'm like, Choma, that was not a good call. That was not a good thing to do. So these are things that I did in my earlier career that I would not repeat again. And for some things, I would say I regretted it because it did not take me to where I needed to go. And sometimes I think to myself, what if I had done something different? How would that job have turned out? Maybe I could have been promoted earlier or getting better. I would have gotten better bonus. I just don't know. But because I was very reserved, I was being too good. I missed great opportunities because of some of these silly things that I did in my earlier career. And before I do that, I want to share this affirmation with you because I think we go into the workplace and we lose ourselves. And I don't want you to lose yourself because everything you need, everything is within you. It is inside of you. You are beautifully created. So anything you put your mind to, you can get it done. Any, I was just checking the camera. Anything you put your mind to, you can do it. So don't limit yourself. Do not limit yourself. The first affirmation is, my worth is not determined by external validation. This is so important because I don't want you to feel that your manager, your boss, or your elder sister, somebody outside of you validates you. You validate who you are, what you can do. And if you need help, go to God. Do not allow external people to validate you. One, because they don't know you better than you. Nobody knows you better than yourself. So you do not allow an external person or external things to validate who you are. Then my second one is, I can overcome any challenging situation. Why am I sharing this? Because no matter where you are right now, your situation, no matter how difficult it is, you might think that it's so difficult that you cannot change it. I'm here to tell you, you definitely can. You can change your situation. All you need is the secret source of trust, self-belief, confidence to just make that change. It might be difficult in the beginning, but I guarantee you it is worth it. And you are gonna make it. So here are 8 things that I have come up with that I think that is important to share with you. And if any of these resonates with you and it's time to make a change, do so immediately. Start making the change for yourself. So the first thing, when I went my first job, I stayed there too long and I was just too loyal. Staying in a job too long or staying loyal to a company is not worth it. You have got to put yourself first in any job that you go to. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do the job. No, do the job, do your job well, because that's what you are there for. Do your job well, but you have got to prioritize yourself in all the decisions that you are taking. If you don't like how you're being treated, then it's time to go. I used to be worried because we were told then that, you need to stay in a place long enough because if you leave too soon, it looks bad on your resume and another employer is not going to employ you. Nobody cares. What is important is how valuable your skills are to a company and how you can sell yourself to the company. That's what matters. And to be honest, these days, it's more about faster changing. And I'm not saying go and stay in the job for a year and leave. For me, I think that the first 2 to 3 years is when you really get to learn about the job. Of course, depending on what it is. I was in procurement, strategic manager for multiple suppliers. So every job is different. But I believe that you need at least a good 2 to 3 years to master the job. And then another year or two to make your mark. After that, you are due a promotion or it is time to change. And I remember one of my friends telling me in one of my very earlier jobs, and they said to me, Choma, when a company wants to change, they are not thinking that you are so important that they need you. All they're thinking about is we need to make a change, because everyone is replaceable. You are replaceable. So don't put the company over your needs at all. The second thing that I regret doing in my earlier career was not having a plan B. And these days, my when I say plan B, I'm talking about having side hustles. Let me switch off this phone. Side hustles. I only did my 9 to 5. I had ideas in my head to start a business. I never did anything. And I think that puts you even more in a difficult situation, because you are so reliant on your day job to pay your bills, to go on holiday, to buy your house and all these things. It is so bad not to do something on the side in this day and age. I wish that I started my side hustle earlier. I wish that I started thinking about other ways to make an income, so that should the situation arise that I am fired or I wasn't happy enough, I wanted to leave, rather than being burnt out or getting fired, my side hustle will just take care of me until I can sort myself out. So if you have the opportunity, if you have a passion, then I really urge you to start working on it. Start working on it on the side, so that over time you are preparing, it is maturing, so that it can become your main job. You never know, but always have a plan B. I didn't do that, and that was a big mistake. Imagine in 20 years how far my business would have gone, where I would be now if I had started. I just did not allow myself to turn my dream into reality. And that puts you in a very unsettling situation with your 9 to 5. So have a plan B. Have a plan B. The third thing that I regret not doing was taking on more responsibilities on the promise that I will get a promotion. And I did this a couple of times in different jobs. I remember my first job, I came in as a supervisor. I was promised the manager role, and I believe I did a manager role for a good year and a half, on the promise that let's test how you are and then you will become a manager. So I was in transit. I was not a fully fledged manager, but I was doing a manager's role. And then when the time came for end of year review for me to get it, there was always an excuse. So I regret not negotiating better. Let me just put it that way. I regret taking on the responsibilities on a promise that never materialized. Don't, do what you are being paid to do, and no employer worth anything will expect you, well, they can expect you to do more, but they will not fire you for not doing more. There are other ways to get recognition so that you can get promoted, but it is not in taking on responsibilities that are more than your pay grade. No. And I did that. don't do the same thing. It's not worth it. The number 4 is not having a work-life balance. Or no boundaries. There was no boundaries between work and my personal life. And I remember when I was in Belgium, this is where it was really, really bad for me. I would actually, in my first job as well, definitely in my earlier jobs, I had no boundaries. I would work, I would get to work early, I will work. Sometimes I would go on holiday with my work phone, and I'll be answering emails and I'll be checking things, answering all in, because I was seeing other colleagues do it. So I would do the same thing, because in my head, if I don't do this, I'm going to get fired. I am not going to get promoted. Somebody is going to say, well, other people are doing it, you are not. And you have this fear that if you don't follow the crowd, you are going to be mistreated. And then it becomes the norm. So I really, really regret not putting my foot down. I am glad now, because in my last job, it was not an expectation. And I did what I needed to do and not more than that. But when I needed to put in extra effort, I did that, but it was on my own terms. And that's the most important thing. If you're going to do more, then do it on your own terms, but it should not be a regular thing. It should be once in a while. For example, when I traveled for business, and it's a different time zone. When I traveled, I'm just, on a business trip by myself. I was fine doing the extra work. But it was important for me when I came home to my family, I gave them that time. I gave my family the time that they needed, and I would not be in the evening whilst everyone is watching TV, I'm busy working. No, that was early on in my career, and it was just the worst thing to do, because I was doing it from a place of fear that if I didn't do it, it's gonna. And you remember, I don't know if you do, if you remember, or at least let me say, I remember there will be days where I'll send an email late in the evening, because emails are timestamped, and I was thinking that when my manager gets the email, and they're going to look at the time, and they're going to see that I sent it late in the evening, I am good working in the evening. This is such a bad way of seeing things, because the expectation becomes that you can work on your own time, and they will just keep asking you to do it. So do not, balance your life and your career. Do not, have boundaries. This is so important to avoid burnout, to, set boundaries. So for people to know who you are, what you represent, and nobody's going to criticize you for not working in your personal time. If the company expects you to work when you are not meant to be in your working time, you're not getting paid for it, then you need to head out the door. Don't do it. The other thing, the next one, is that I never took sick days. And I'm the kind of person, I don't get sick. Thank God. I am very, I don't get sick. And I will be, in jobs where people will be just falling left, right, and center, being sick, taking time off. And I wish that even though I wasn't sick, that I took some days off, because what happened when other people are sick is that you get all the jobs. You get all the jobs to do, and then you get busy and frazzled and, tired. Nobody cares, because it's like, well, so-and-so, they are off sick, so we need to get the job done. So it is all down to you to do the job. So I wish that I was, I took some time off for myself, and I would even go as far as saying, even if I was feeling sick or not well, I would still work, whether it was at home or just going into the office. I would just say, I'll be fine, and then I'll go into work. I remember one time, very early on in my career, I was so sick. I had a stomach ache. And I was driving, this is when I was in the UK, and I was driving an hour plus to the office. And I just thought, yeah, trauma is going to be okay. Because I was thinking about the production that was going out, what they needed me for. And I got into my car and I went to work. I was not well at all. I went to work. I got to work and I was in agony holding my stomach. And I was trying to manage the pain. And I think after about an hour or two, it was just unbearable. I had to just excuse myself, take permission, and get into the car and drive back home in pain. Tell me, guys, who in their right mind does that? What kind of loyalty is that? But for me, I was just like work, 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 work. Even though I was sick and I didn't feel well, I could not bring myself to take the time off. And I went to work. And if you have a stomach, imagine having a stomach pain, driving an hour plus, and then trying to work just wasn't possible, and I had to go home. This is actually, this one I completely and utterly regret not taking 6 days, sick days off when I was feeling sick. I'm not trying to, I wasn't trying to, I don't know what I was trying to prove or who I was trying to prove anything to. It did not serve me. It did not get me any extra bonus or any money. In fact, it reflected negatively. You know, if you are in some areas, in some type of jobs, if you are sick, you're bringing your disease to work. You know, you're bringing your sickness to work. You're going to infect other people. So stay at home. Stay at home. But, you know, your girl here was too loyal. I would just go to work, trying to see if I can manage the whole situation. And no, that was my earlier day. So yeah, it didn't last too long. So if you do that, please don't. Your health is so, so important. Take care of yourself, and your body can last longer to take care of you. So the next thing was, and this was, a lot happened in my first job, to be honest. My first job, I was in production and I was doing shift work. I was a supervisor, but the manager that I had, so having a manager that is abusive, I tolerated it in my first job. And the guy, and I remember him, you know, his name's Barry. I remember him so well. I mean, there's so many Barrys that I've known anyway, so nobody's going to know who is who. But he was so, you know, he would just swear. When he's talking to you, he'd be swearing, effing and blinding. And you would just sit there cowardly listening, and he would just be swearing, and I would never make any complaints. I would just listen. I wasn't the only person, but tolerating it was just bad. And I remember another manager came, and within a few months, she wasn't going to tolerate it, and she made it her mission to get rid of him. It took a little while, but he then was out of the door because it was just unacceptable in a professional environment to be rude to your colleagues. So if you are working with a manager or colleagues who are abusive, don't accept it. Don't accept it. So number 7 is not negotiating a starting salary. Guys, if you don't negotiate a starting salary, the salary increase when you are in the job is like 2% if you're lucky, no more than 5%. No, 5% is probably for promotion. If you don't negotiate a good salary at the beginning, that's it, you're finished. And I did that for a couple of jobs. One, I was in panic mode that I needed to get a job because I didn't have anything on the side. I didn't have anything else on the side. I would take on a job and I would just accept whatever salary. And then when you get your first month, second month, third month, you realize that actually, or the job that I was doing, I realized that I was doing more than what I was getting paid for, but it's too late. you're not, the promotion that you get whenever that time is, and that was a couple of years down the line, it's not going to ever get you to that level. It's only, I would say, the last 15 years, 15 years? 15 years, yes, that I have put my needs first, and I calculated my salary expectation and all of the other benefits, and there's a minimum that I would accept, but I will start at a higher level than that, so that I knew how far I would go. And if a job doesn't give me what I want salary wise, because I know I give my all, then sorry, it's not worth it. But in my earlier career, I just took a job, and whatever salary they gave me, I was just like, okay. But I would be so unhappy. The difference when you get the right salary, I noticed that getting paid or money was never an issue for me, because I would do my job wholeheartedly. I wouldn't be saying that, oh, I'm doing this and I'm not getting paid that. No. And that's the big difference. If you are not getting the salary that you deserve, you are going to be miserable in a job. I know that for a fact, because it happened to me a few times. I was miserable working because I knew that my salary was not where it should have been. And the worst thing is, if your colleague is getting paid more than you, is the worst situation to be in. So don't devalue yourself by not negotiating your salary worth, your salary expectation. You should know what salary you are expecting. And if you want me to do a video on how to determine the range and also what you should do, then let me know in the comment section. Which one of these 7 things so far that I have shared that have you done? And do you regret it? Are you still experiencing it now? Let me know in the comment section. Let's debunk, let's have this discussion, guys, because it's so important that we know our value, know our worth. The last one I'm going to share is not being bold enough. I was very timid in my younger career. I was very timid. I wouldn't speak up for myself. If I see something wrong or somebody said something, I was not bold enough to do something about it, protect myself. In my first job, because I didn't have a pharmacy degree. My degree is in chemistry and business. And I remember that one of my colleagues, I know her name, but I'm not going to say it. I remember that the first thing she said to me was that because I didn't have the pharmacy degree, that I didn't know how to do things. And I would just allow people to make certain references about me because of my qualification. I was more than good in the job. I knew what to do because I had the experience from the previous temporary jobs that I had done, but I just wasn't bold enough to protect myself. And in hindsight, I wish I carried myself with more confidence and more boldness, because if you don't, people will look down on you. They will trample over you. In a meeting, you will be sidelined. Somebody can say something to you because they think that you are not going to do anything about it. So being bold enough to speak confidently is so important. To present your case confidently is so important, because like I said in the beginning, you are worth it. You have everything you need inside of you. Don't limit yourself. Don't allow anybody to say that you are not good enough. You are. And if you need help, go and get that qualification. Go and do that extra course. There's so many opportunities now for us to develop and improve ourselves. Do that for you, but don't allow anybody to devalue who you are. I did these things in my earlier career. I wish I hadn't done it, but it was a lesson learned. And this lesson I want to pass to you so that you don't repeat the same mistakes whilst you are at the very good stage in your career, because you're not going to like it. You are going to hate it. So that's all I wanted to share today with you. Happy Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. And I will come back and we chat again next week on Monday. In the meantime, take care. Wherever you are in the US, good morning or good afternoon. It is good night or good evening here in Europe. Take care, my dears, and see you next week for the next video. Take care. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.